Hanover 2026 on Wednesday. Here we are heading for the finish line of a busy week for everybody, I'm sure all of you. Thank you for joining us for this session here with Coca-Cola and Accenture and Siemens. We want to tell you a little bit about the Coca-Cola initiative around Factory of the Future. First, we're going to do some introduction. We'll talk about the initiative, Coca-Cola Factory of the Future. Then we'll drill in a little bit about applying digital twins to specific use cases in various scenarios that simulate the environment in which the operators run their business and how they use that to make decisions. And then the last piece is we'll look forward a little bit about what we think is coming down the road a little bit farther. So introductions first. Let's go ahead. I'll start with you, Belén. Could you describe to everybody your role at Coca-Cola here in Europe?
Yeah. Okay, first of all, good morning to everybody. Thank you for inviting me to this session. It's a pleasure to share with you the stage today. So I'm the director in digital and operational technology in customer service and supply chain for CCEP. So CCEP is one of the biggest bottlers of Coca-Cola. And my role is to really define the strategy on digital, why we are doing digital in customer service and supply chain, and this journey that we have ahead of us in order to define the factory of the future.
Very good. Thanks, Belén. And Sheri?
Hi, everyone. And I will echo Belén's comment. Thank you very much for having us here today. So I come from Accenture. I'm part of the supply chain and engineering team, and I've worked in the digital manufacturing space for my entire career. So started actually writing PLC code, robotics integration, and so was lucky enough to see the evolution of digital manufacturing over the last 25 to 30 years and how some of the new technologies are really enabling the future and what companies such as Coca-Cola can do. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, ladies. And Todd Weatherby from Siemens Advanta, our professional services business unit at Siemens. And we're quite excited about the partnership with Accenture that we've been doing now for a year formally, but before that too. And then getting a chance to work with the Coca-Cola system, starting with work at the corporate level, but also then throughout the bottler network around the world. And specifically today, sharing with you the story here in Central Europe. So with that introduction, let's talk a little bit about the Factory of the Future initiative at Coca-Cola system-wide. And maybe, Sheri, you've been involved since the early days of all that, working with the team in Atlanta. Could you maybe describe for people what Factory of the Future means at Coca-Cola?
Yeah, no, I'd be very happy to. So thanks, Todd. So this work started with Coca-Cola about a year ago. And for those of you that don't know Coca-Cola as well, Coca-Cola is a system. And so the bottlers, such as CCEP, have a franchise agreement with the Coca-Cola company. And so that brings opportunity, but it also can bring complexity in the network. So within Coca-Cola proper, they have a group called GTEC, which is their Global Technology and Engineering Center. And that group's primary responsibility is to work across the bottler network to help them in figuring out what some of their engineering designs need to look like, whether it's new lines or brownfield or greenfield facilities that they're working on. And this initiative was really focused with that group in collaboration with a number of the very large bottlers, such as CCEP, to start thinking about what the future of digital manufacturing needed to look like for them. And so as part of this program, we interviewed a lot of the senior supply chain people from the bottler network. We brought thought leadership from Accenture. We worked closely with Siemens Advanta and the rest of the Siemens family to understand and think about what some of the external trends were that were influencing what digital manufacturing capabilities needed to look like. So if you think about a network of 200 bottlers plus globally and over 900 facilities worldwide, you're in a lot of different demographic regions. And so there's a lot of different challenges that you need to think about, whether that's labor scarcity or skills issues, whether it's water scarcity and how you're going to do CIPs better so that you don't have to waste as much water, whether you've got sustainable energy, whether compliance pressures are going to be more mandated in certain regions versus other regions, and how the supply chain needs to change. And I think everybody who's been at this show recognizes the consumer of tomorrow even the consumer of today in some ways is much more demanding than the consumer of yesterday. And they want the product that they want, when they want it, in the packaging that they want, and they want it now. And that creates all kinds of challenges, but we'll call them opportunities in the supply chain network. And that drives the need for agility and flexibility within the manufacturing space. And so that was the point of this program, was how do the bottlers start thinking about what they need in the future so that as they're working today, they're actually building out an architecture and a set of capabilities that will support that future vision. And so we built what we called a navigator. And this navigator allows each of them to go through and say, what are some of the things I need to be thinking about in the future? What are the capabilities I'm going to need to do that? How does that drive the future use cases that I need? What is the architecture components that I need to support that? And what is the heat map that tells me where I should start and how I should focus? And things such as Edge AI and digital twins, which we'll dive in a little bit more, are obviously critical parts of that component. And we did it across Siemens and Accenture. For those of you that were here last year at Hanover, we announced our big business group collaboration. We did it across these two businesses because the power of what Siemens brings from a software and a product development roadmap and an industry knowledge perspective, coupled with Accenture and the scale and the thought leadership and the work we've done, we thought could really help drive an interesting and successful future for the bottler network. So that was the program.
That's a great description. You said over 200 bottlers and over 900 sites. That system is unique in its scale and complexity.
Yeah.
And then boiling it down to use cases that provides hopefully some useful guidance to the bottlers. So how do you think of it, Belén, looking at it from a bottler perspective at the broad system of Coca-Cola's network or their system?
Yeah. Well, as we said, so CCP is one of the biggest boulders. So we have 31 markets. So our route to market, our approach to them is completely different in each of them. So we need to be prepared. So for those customers that are changing, so we need to have the brands that they are demanding in the right place at the right time. And we need to give to them, this refreshing beverage that we are producing. So this partnership has been key for us, and also thank you to the Coke company, because they are always thinking on how to improve our operations and how to be better on the products that we are giving to our customers, because they give to us an North Star, no? So we now know, okay, this is the drive of direction that we need to move towards. And also this is how it's going to help us. So it's not just about, okay, so this is the super futuristic thing. It's also about, okay, really seeing the value that each of the tools and each of the use cases that we are identifying there, how they are going to help us to be better at in our operations, improving our efficiency or being more resilience, asset utilization. So we have each of every single use case and tools connected with the real value that it's going to give to us. So now it's about really, okay, how we combine that with our strategy, which at the end of the day is, okay, we want to really be focused on our customers. So our customers are on the first place in our operations. Then we will put on that efficiency. So how we can look into the tools that are going to make us doing the things in a better way, in a more productive way. Then the third one is our people. So we cannot forget that, okay, tools is something that is going to change how we operate, but we need to onboard into this journey our people. So give to them the capabilities and the knowledge that they need in order to do this transformation. And for that, we need also to change our operations. So it's about processes, changes, and how we are going to combine all of that together, no?
Yeah. So people, process, and technology always, but you both said driven by the customer signal and the variation in that and the speed of that, the operations has to be optimized for the customer signal.
Yep.
So maybe as we drop down now into the idea of digital twins and applying that in an operations setting to drive those efficiencies, I think a lot about simulations and greenfield, brownfield. How do you think about where you're looking to apply this kind of industrial AI approach to process optimization?
Yeah. Well, so we are talking about a lot about digital twins, and one of the things that we discussed a lot at the beginning is, okay, what digital twin do we want to build? No, so do we want to build a digital twin to simulate things, to design things, to operationalize things, so to be better at doing things? No, and our approach has been more focused on the operations, and it comes with a challenge, no, because if you want to start digitalizing, no, and having a replica of your factory, you need to gather data. And that's the first challenge that we have already defined. No? So how to better connect our operations real time, no, in this replica that we would like to build. No? So that's the key element in this journey. So how we can be better at having real time data, and with that, so then, okay, we can build this digital twin that for us, it has two key areas that we have focused the use cases. So the first one is yield, so waste in general, so how we can make better use of all the things that we are using in general. So we have the syrup, we have water, so we have energy. So being better and in the use of all of that, it will make our operations more efficient. Then it's about operational efficiency in general. So how we combine, no? So better use of the machines that we already have. So how to improve, no, the real use of each of the assets that we have in our lines. And the last one is about sustainability and how to be better at that, because we want to build a sustainable future. So that's why we have to take care of the resources that we are already using. So that's the three key pillars that we are looking at, and this is the journey on where we are. Got
to pick those spots. Is there one of those that's farther ahead than the others?
Yield is the first one that we are already focused at now.
So that's the waste and other things. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. And as you think about digital twins and applying them in an industrial environment that they have, how would you think about the sweet spots for using it to drive business value?
Yeah, definitely yield is a really, really important one. We hear from the network a lot about energy as a very important piece of it. And maybe one thing that I'll kind of go back to, as we talked about the factory of the future work and the different layers in the architecture of which digital twin was an important piece, I think Belén touched on something really important, which was the data and understanding what information and data you need, not just to support the digital twin, but to support AI and agentic AI and all of these other technologies. And so what we really, really focused carefully on was, what are some of the architecture layers and groupings of use cases that are going to drive early value? And then how do you build that in a scalable way? So as you think about some of the digital twin technologies, there's definitely great engineering design tools that we can use. I believe there's about 10 greenfield facilities in the bottler network that are being designed right now, about 20 brownfield. But as Belén said, a lot of the opportunity sits in the operations space. So if you can run simulations to optimize your operations, that can reduce your CapEx investment because you can start to get better efficiency, lower energy costs, lower water, all of those mega trends I talked about out of the existing facilities that you have. And so that's why that's such an important place for us to focus as an early win in the digital twins.
So you're thinking about getting more capacity without the CapEx investment, so avoiding CapEx, but being able to respond to the growth of the business without that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think I also heard you say that it's the easy thing to think about is the design side or a greenfield thing, but you're both saying that there's so much opportunity in this more operations end or the life cycle of the business, and not just at the beginning, but all the way through to yield. Is that how you think of it?
Yeah. So completely. So for us, the key, as we said, so is the brownfield. So to really leverage, to do the best of the operations that we are already doing. And this is where we said we have the North Star. Now we have to define the clear journey. So how we are going to really start this process on, we should start with the brownfield, what we already have, trying to capture all the information from the machines that are pretty old, so they are not prepared for all of this that we are seeing here, and they were not even thinking on AI, cybersecurity, connecting to outside. So that's one of the key elements that also makes us to keep in mind that we have to have resilience operations, and at the end of the day, so connecting more our factories to outside and being able to be more connected to everything. So it's also something that it represents a risk to the operations.
Got it. What I learned from both of you is that you can't do it one size for all sites either. Some sites are really worried about water, or they're really worried about energy, and they're a bit different too, right? So you can't do it one way for all. You have to be able to extend it or customize it for specific parts of your business.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, it sounds like we got a good thing going here. Now let's flash forward. Just got a couple minutes left. Some of the ideas from both of you about how you're thinking about the future now, stretching it out a few years. Maybe I'll start with you, Sheri, and then Belén to wrap up.
Yeah, and I just want to be careful. To me, the digital twin story is an and, it's not an or. So it's really important to work with clients where they are, where their biggest value is today. But as we think about the future and we think about, again, increased SKU complexity, more agile manufacturing requirements, if we can design and build factories that are actually designed to handle that complexity, it can be a game changer. So while we think about operations twins for facilities today, it's really, really important to be also thinking about what the future engineering design needs to look like to handle this increased complexity. So I'm really excited about that. The other piece I just want to add on is there's a lot of fear in the market around labor and people and what their role is as some of these technologies evolve. And I'm really, really excited to start to show what human in the lead actually means. And I think we need to get more examples out there that show how people are going to interact with AI, how they're going to leverage these tools, not that their jobs are going to go away, but their jobs are going to start to elevate. And that, to me, is another really important piece so that we can eliminate some of the fear that I think has been created in the market around what we're talking about today.
Great. I think I heard you talk about adaptability in the design so that manufacturing can be more adaptable because it's designed better from the beginning.
Exactly.
But then also it's all about people in the end because we can be as automated as we want, but there's still going to be people involved, maybe in different ways.
Exactly.
Very good. How do you think about a few years out, what we're all going to be working on?
Yeah, well, for me, there is two key things. So as you said, we are still in the early days of the digital twin. So for me, the next step will be how we can make them really automate. So to move to the next level, that it's about, okay, I'm seeing that I should change this. So how can I really execute an action behind that? The other key element is, so to move really towards this AI and agentic AI and how we can combine, and put all the pieces of the puzzle together to make that work and to put the humans in the loop, to humans in the centers, and to make the decisions with real time, more agile, and so to just see, okay, these are the trends that are coming. This disruption is going to happen in 3 days, but okay, you already have an advice on, okay, this is coming, so your trucks are not coming, so you don't have raw materials. What should I be doing in order to be sure that my customers are going to be happy tomorrow?
Got it. Very good. And from my side, I think there's opportunities in specific locations on specific business problems, but I also think when we work on the data the way we are, we're going to have an opportunity to look across sites at an enterprise level, even maybe across the whole system somehow, to start to optimize the total business of Coca-Cola, even though it's got a bit of a franchise model with the bottlers. And so I think there's a lot of room to run on the data side of this thing that we've touched on a little bit, but everybody's working on that same problem. I think we're just getting started on how to manage this much data.